yesterday, the assignment that I gave you was on Google Classroom, and if you didn't do it yesterday, you still have time to do it. It should have popped up in your feed. And there's lots of things on mine that's not on yours, but right here. It was new material, lesson 1014. And so there are two videos in here. They're both pretty short, but it's going pretty fast. I'm just talking to myself. So you'll watch those videos, and then as you watch those videos, you are to be taking notes. And when you take the notes, you need to submit those notes here. And that's an assignment that I gave you this with 10 points. I'll probably do that pretty much every Wednesday. Now, we may be right to where we can just work on an assignment, but I don't want us to lose a day of instruction just because every week we're going to be out. Yes, ma'am?
I heard that we're going to be out of school the Friday before Halloween.
October 30th is a digital day, yes.
So we're going to be out that Wednesday and Friday?
That I don't know. I don't know if they'll switch it, but I know we're out that Friday. It's still a school day. We'll still have digital stuff, but yes, that is scheduled in the schedule as a digital day unless it changes. I'm sure they'll let us know. All right. So today's stuff, we're going to pick up where I left off yesterday. So if you didn't do what we did yesterday, you're going to start off just a little bit behind. We talked about one-to-one functions and how to find these numerically and graphically. So we are on, I guess, the second page. It's E. It's the one that looks like this. Okay, and the directions are on the page before. And we're supposed to determine if the inverse function exists, providing justification. If it does, then find the inverse. Okay, so we got to figure out if it exists. To figure out if, yes, sir. Okay. That goes in front of that sheet I just gave you. That sheet goes with that homework. Okay. So we have to first see if it's one-to-one. In order to tell if a graph is one-to-one, it has to pass the horizontal line test. Meaning if I take a horizontal line and I cross over the graph, I should only cross 1 point at a time. Nowhere do I cross more than 1 point. So this passes the horizontal line test. So it will have an inverse. So we would say that h of x is 1-to-1 because the graph passes the horizontal line test. So h inverse, that's what that little -1 is. H inverse of x exists because h of x is 1-to-1. So that's what the directions told me. I had to determine if the inverse exists and then provide justification. So the inverse exists because it's 1-to-1. And I know it's 1-to-1 because it passes the horizontal line test. So now what we did yesterday was we made a list of h of x of the points that are given here. Change colors. And I just go from left to right. This point is -5, -3. That point looks like it's -4, maybe 1/2. I'm approximating. This next point is -3, 3. And this last point here is -1, 5. So see if it's 1 to 1, which, in case you didn't watch the video yesterday, just means that none of the x's repeat and none of the y's repeat. That's what makes it 1 to 1. And so since it's 1 to 1, it has an inverse. Does anybody remember or watched yesterday and know what an inverse does? Yeah. It flip-flops x's and y's. Puts the y's where the x's are, put the x's where the y's are. So let me change colors. So H inverse, that's what that little -1 is, of x, then would be -3, -5. I just put x where y is and y where x is. 1/2, -4, 3, -3, and 5, -1. I don't change the signs or anything, I just flip-flop them around. And then we're supposed to graph those. -3, -5, +1/2, -4, 3, -3, and 5, -1. That kind of looks like that. And I know it's a curved because the original one was curved. So that blue one is H inverse of x. All right. Questions on doing it with a graph? Okay, now we didn't do any of these yesterday. We didn't get to the equations. So it gives us an equation, and we got to determine if it's 1 to 1. Well, the suggestion yesterday when we were just talking about it, I guess we would be me, was to think about what the graph would look like. You don't have to draw it perfectly, we just want to know what it would look like so we can tell if it's going to pass the horizontal line test. What shape is it going to be? It's going to be a parabola. Now, that's enough to know that it's not going to pass the horizontal line test. But just for review, I'm going to say, okay, then this -3 means I'm going to go to the left 3. And that -2 means I'm going to go down 2. So it's going to look something like that. And again, it doesn't matter if you drew it like that because you know it's a parabola. And here, I'll scoot that down. And see, it's definitely not going to pass the horizontal line test because it's touching it in more than one spot. So you didn't even have to draw that. You could have just looked at it and said, oh, that's a parabola. Nah, it's not 1 to 1. So what we would write here is we would say f of x is not